Hello everyone, today we'll be going through the calculator section of the math portion of the SAT practice test number 9. If you didn't watch me walk through the no calculator section of this test, you should do that before you come and watch this video. Okay, so let's get started. Number 1, what value of x satisfies the equation 3x plus 3 equals 27? Subtract 3 from both sides. 3x equals 24. Divide by 3, x equals 8. Okay. Number 2, two units of length were used in ancient Egypt, and they were cubits and palms, where 1 cubit is equivalent to 7 palms. So that's our conversion factor that we need to be using later. The Great Sphinx statue in Giza is approximately 140 cubits long. Which of the following best approximates the length in palms of the Great Sphinx statue? Okay, so we want to convert from cubits to palms. So we have 140 cubits times some number of palms over some number of cubits as our conversion factor. Well, here in the underlined portion of the problem, we know that 1 cubit is equal to 7 palms. So that's our conversion factor. Now the cubits cancel out. We have 140 times 7 palms, which is 980 palms. And that's our answer. Now on to question number 3. If 2n divided by 5 equals 10, what is the value of 2n minus 1? Okay, so we can multiply by 5 on both sides, so 2n equals 50. And if we just subtract 1 from both sides, we get 2n minus 1 is 49. That's our answer. Now on to question number 4. The square root of x squared equals x. Which of the following values of x is not a solution to the equation above? Now, first of all, I want you to note that x has to be greater than or equal to 0, because the square root of a value a will always equal its principal root, or its positive root. So it'll be the absolute value of a. So the only answer that isn't positive or 0 is a, so that's our answer. Alright, numbers 5 and 6. So we have this graph. In an experiment, a heated cup of coffee is removed from a heat source, and the cup of coffee is then left in a room that is kept at a constant temperature. The graph above shows the temperature in degrees Fahrenheit of the coffee immediately after being removed from the heat source and at 10-minute intervals thereafter. Now, of the following, which best approximates the temperature in degrees Fahrenheit of the coffee when it is first removed from the heat source? Well, when it's first removed from the heat source, our time t is 0, so our y-intercept will be close to 200. The answer closest to 200 will be 195. That's our answer. Number 6. During which of the following 10-minute intervals does the temperature of the coffee decrease at the greatest average rate? Okay, so I'm just going to draw lines between each 2 consecutive points. So we have that line, and then 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 that line. On and on and on. So as you notice, as we go down the graph, the lines get flatter and flatter. The steepest line, or the steepest decrease, is between 0 minutes and 10 minutes. So that's A. Number 7. In the figure above, line AD intersects line BE at C. If x equals 100, what's the value of y? Okay, so x equals 100, so that means this angle right here will be equal to 180 minus 20 minus 100, and that's 60 degrees. By the vertical angle theorem, this angle will also be equal to 60 degrees. So y will be equal to 180 minus 60 minus 40. That's 180 minus 100, and that's 80 degrees. On to the next question. I circled 80, right? Okay. Number 8. The line graphed in the XY plane below models the total cost in dollars for a cab ride Y in a certain city during non-peak hours based on the number of miles traveled X. According to the graph, what is the cost for each additional mile travel in dollars of a cab ride? Okay, so if we travel 0 miles, we have a $3 base fare. We travel 1 mile, the cost bumps to $5, so that's a $2 increase. We travel another mile, and the cost goes up to $7. That's another $2 increase. So the slope of this line is 2. So for every additional mile that we travel, we get charged $2 extra. And number 9 here. On Tuesday, a local gas station had 135 customers. The table above summarizes whether or not the customers on Tuesday purchased gasoline, a beverage, both, or neither. Based on the data in the table, what is the probability that a gas station customer selected at random on that day did not purchase gasoline? Okay. So we are interested in this row. How many people didn't purchase gasoline? Well, a total is 50. So we know that 50 people total didn't purchase gasoline. And how many total customers were there on that day? 135. So probability is 50 over 135. Next question, let's see. Washington High School randomly selected freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior students for a survey about potential changes to next year's schedule. Of the students selected for the survey, a quarter were freshmen and a third were sophomores. Half of the remaining students were selected as juniors. If 336 students were surveyed, how many were seniors? Okay. So we want to find out what fraction were seniors. So we know that a quarter were freshmen and a third were sophomores. And we know that half of the remaining selected students were juniors. So that means the other half of the remaining selected students must be seniors. So we know the amount of juniors and seniors are the same. So if we find the amount of juniors as a fraction of the whole, we can find the fraction of seniors there are. So the amount of juniors as a fraction of total population is 1/2 of 1 minus a quarter minus a third. This part is equal to 3/4. 3/4 minus 1/3, that's 9 over 12, minus 4 over 12. So that's 1/2 of, no, not 1/12, sorry. 1/2 of 5/12. That's what's left. So our junior population is 5/24 of the total population. Let me just get rid of this. So we know that our junior population is 5/24 of total. So that means our senior population is also 5/24 of total. Right. So then we just need to multiply 5 over 24, because that's a fraction of seniors that are surveyed, times the total number of people, 336. Now if you divide 336 by 24, you get 14. So that's 14, and 14 times 5 is 70. So that's D. On to the next question. Number 11, yep. Plant A is currently 20 centimeters tall and plant B is currently 12 centimeters tall. The ratio of the heights of plant A to plant B is equal to the ratio of the height of plant C to plant D. If plant C is 54 centimeters tall, what's the height of plant D in centimeters? Okay, so we know the ratio of A to B is equal to the ratio of plant C to D, because that's what the problem tells us in the second sentence. And we know what A and B are. So A is 20 centimeters, B is 12 centimeters. And we know C is 54 centimeters. We just need to find D. Now we can simplify this ratio by dividing the numerator and denominator by 4. So this would become a 5, and that would become a 3. Now it's just the fraction 5 over 3 is equal to 54 over something. Now we just need to cross multiply. 54 times 3 is equal to 5D. So that's 162 equals 5D. And if we divide this by 5, we get 32.4 equals D. That's answer choice A. Number 12. Biologists found a new species of pale shrimp at the world's deepest undersea vent, the Beebe Vent Field. The vent is 3.1 miles below the surface. Approximately how many kilometers below the sea surface is the vent? And we get our conversion factor right here. So we want to convert from miles to kilometers, and we have our conversion factor. So we have to use the right one. 3.1 miles times, we want the miles to cancel, so we'll put the miles at the bottom. So, and we're given 1 kilometer is equal to 0.6214 miles. Let me write that a bit better. 0.6214. Alright, that's our conversion factor. To get the miles to cancel. Miles cancel, and we're just given that the number of kilometers is 3.1 over 0.6214. And when we plug that into our calculator, I'm going to do that really quickly. Divided by 0.6214. It's about 4.989, and that's about 5 kilometers. So D. Next question. Number 13. A cargo helicopter delivers only 100-pound packages and 120-pound packages. The helicopter must carry at least 10 packages, and the total weight of the packages can be at most 1,100 pounds. What's the maximum number of 120-pound packages that the helicopter can carry per trip? Okay, so we're given two inequalities. 100, I want to say x, for the light packages, and plus 120y must be less than or equal to 1,100, and then x plus y is greater than or equal to 10. So we have two inequalities. Now the fastest way to do this is to just plug in each of the answer choices and see which one's the right answer. So if we plug in a equals 2, so y. So if we plug in y equals 2, we get, let's see, this x equal 8. We can meet the bare minimum. So that would be 100 times 8 plus 120 times 2. That's 800, and that's 240. That's less than 1,100. 140 is less than or equal to 1,100. So that checks out. Now if we do y equals 4, that's answer choice B. We get, let's see, 100 times 4 plus 120 times, wait, that's the other way. 120 times 4 plus 100 times 6. That's 600 plus 480. That's 1080. That's less than or equal to 1100. So that checks out. Now if you do y equals 5, then we have 5 of each package. It's 500 plus 600. That's 1100. That meets the condition. That meets condition 1 and condition 2. We have 10 packages and we have 1100 pounds. Now we can try y equals 6. If we do y equals 6, we get, let's see, I'm going to erase all this. What's the computation here? You get 400 plus 720, that's 1120. That does not meet the first condition. So our maximum value is C5. Next question. A company purchased a machine valued at $120,000. The value of the machine depreciates by the same amount each year, so that after 10 years, the value will be $30,000. Which of the following gives the value of V of the machine in dollars t years after it was purchased for t is between 0 and 10? So notice that the car is depreciating by the same amount each year. So we're going to have a linear equation. And if we have a linear equation, our y-intercept will be $120,000 because that's the value the car started from. And just by knowing that, we can eliminate answer choice A. And we also know that the car depreciates, so our slope will be negative. So we have a negative m value when you put it in slope-intercept form, a negative slope. So with that, we can eliminate answer choice C. Now we just need to find out what the slope is. So we have 2 points. When the time in years past is 0, our point is 120,000. That's our y-intercept. And when when 10 years pass, the car value is 30,000. Now the slope here will be 30,000 minus 120,000. Let me bring that to the side a bit. So our slope will be 30,000 minus 120,000 divided by 10 minus 0. That's a negative 90,000 divided by 10, and that's negative 9,000. That's our slope. And that's answer choice B. Question number 15. Line M in the xy plane contains the points 2, 4, and 0, 1. Which of the following is an equation of line M? So notice how everything is in slope-intercept form. We're given our y-intercept, so we know that there has to be a plus 1 at the end. This doesn't have a plus 1, this doesn't have a plus 1, this doesn't have a plus 1. Only this does. So that's our correct answer. Let's move on to the next question. Okay. In the expression above, a is constant if the expression is equal to bx, where b is a constant. What is the value of b? So let's expand that part of the equation. So I'm going to rewrite it over here, 4x plus 4 times ax minus 1. Let's expand. So that's 4ax squared. And then minus 4x plus 4ax, and then minus 4. Now I'm going to bring down the rest of the terms. So we'll bring down a minus x squared and then a plus 4, like that. Right? We know that these two terms have to cancel. So we know that, we move this to the side. We know that 4ax squared minus x squared equals 0. So 4ax squared equals x squared. Let me erase this part so we can bring some of our work over here. I don't need this bit over here. Just put it there for now. Right. We know that this has to be true. When we divide both sides by x squared, we get 4a equals 1. So a equals a quarter. Right. So we know the value of a. A is 1 quarter. So I'm going to bring this back. Right. We know a is a quarter. When a is a quarter, these two terms vanish. We don't have to worry about them. The 4's vanish. So this now is just this. So negative 4x plus 4 times 1 quarter times x. That's negative 4x plus x. That'll be negative 3x. So our b value will be negative 3. Answer choice B. 17. If 2w plus 4t equals 14, and 4w plus 5t equals 25, what's the value of 2w plus 3t? Okay, so I'm going to write these two equations. 4w plus 5t equals 25, and 2w plus 4t equals 14. Notice how 4w and 2w are multiples of each other. 2w times 2 is 4w. So that means we can multiply this equation by 2 and subtract the two equations to solve for just t. So we get 4w plus 5t equals 25, and 4w plus 8t equals 14 times 2, which is 28. When we subtract the two equations, the 4w's cancel like we intended, and we get negative 3t equals negative 3, so t is 1. We want to find 2w plus 3t, and we know 2w plus 4t equals 14. So if we just subtract t from this equation, we'll get 2w plus 3t. We know t is 1. So 2w plus 3t will be equal to 14 minus 1, which is 13. And that's C. Alright, questions 18 to 20. Jennifer bought a box of crunchy grain cereal. The nutrition facts on the box state that the serving size of the cereal is 3/4 cup and provides 210 calories, 50 of which are calories from fat. In addition, each serving of the cereal provides 180 milligrams of potassium, which is 5% of the daily allowance for adults. If P% of an adult's daily allowance of potassium is provided by X servings of crunchy grain cereal per day, which of the following expresses P in terms of X? So for one serving, right, we get 5% of our daily potassium needs. Right? So there's a linear relationship between however many servings we get and whatever percent of potassium per day we get. So it's not an exponential relationship. It's not A or B. And we're just looking for the number in front of the percent sign because they specifically say P%. So we're just looking for the value in the front of the percent sign. The value in front of the percent sign here is 5%. So the linear relationship can be written as y equals 5x, where y is the percent of daily potassium intake we've already consumed. So the answer that most closely matches that is B. Now we move on. Number 19. On Tuesday, Jennifer will mix crunchy grain cereal with Super grain cereal for her breakfast. Super grain cereal provides 240 calories per cup. If the total number of calories in 1 cup of Jennifer's mixture is 270, how much super grain cereal is in 1 cup of the mixture? Okay, so we know that super grain gives you 240 calories per cup. We need to find out how many calories per cup crunchy grain cereal gives us. But we know here that crunchy grain cereal gives you 210 calories for every 3/4 of a cup. And we want to know how many calories that is for 1 cup. So now we can just cross multiply. 210 equals 3/4 x, which is our amount of calories per cup. X is equal to 210 times 4/3, and that's 280. So we know that crunchy grain cereal gives you 280 calories per cup. So I'm just going to fill that in. Okay, now we have to write a system of equations. We know that 240 times however many cups of super grain cereal plus 280 calories times however many cups of crunchy grain we get, that's equal to 270 calories total. And we know that both the servings of cereal have to add to 1 cup. So now we can just multiply the second equation by either 240 or 280. I'm going to multiply by 240 because it's the smaller number and we won't be dealing with negatives. So that'll mean 240x plus 240y equals 240 once we multiply that equation by 240. 240. When we subtract, we get, let's see, this is supposed to be a y. That's my bad. That 280x, that's supposed to be a y. Right? Okay, so the 240x's cancel. We get that 40y equals 30, and y is 3/4. So we get 3/4 of a cup. 3/4 of a cup of crunchy grain cereal. So the amount of super grain cereal we get is 1 minus 3/4 of a cup. That's 1/4 of a cup. That's answer choice B. Moving on to number 20. Which of the following could be the graph of the number of calories from fat in crunchy grain cereal as a function of the number of 3/4 cup servings of the cereal? So from the problem statement, remember that we get 50 calories from fat for every 3/4 cup serving. So there's a proportional relationship. It's a positive proportional relationship. So it can't be C and it can't be D. Right? And because it's a proportional relationship, you're getting 50 calories for every serving. So you can't just gain imaginary calories without having consumed 0 servings. So it's not B either. So the only acceptable answer choice is A. Now, on to the next question. Let me make sure I answered everything over here. Yep, okay. Good. Make sure, yep. Number 21. The graph of the exponential function h in the xy plane, where y equals h of x, has a y-intercept of d, where d is a positive constant. Which of the following could define the function h? Alright, we know h is an exponential function, so there has to be something to a power x. So like 2 to the power x, for example. So we know it's not B and it's not C immediately. So it's either A or D. And we know that it has a y-intercept of D. So when we plug in x equals 0, we should get D as a result. When you plug in x equals 0 here, we get negative 3. That's not it. When we plug in x equals 0, we get D. So D is the answer. On to the next question. Number 22. The weights in pounds for 15 horses in a stable were reported, and the mean, median, range, and standard deviation of the data were found. The horse with the lowest reported weight was found to actually weigh 10 pounds less than its reported weight. What value remains unchanged if the four values are reported using the correct weight? Okay. Because the weight of one of the horses changed, the mean will also change along with it. And if the mean changes, then the standard deviation will also change because it's based off the mean. The range will also change because the lowest weighted horse's weight changed. So range is highest minus lowest. So this will obviously change. The only thing that won't change is the median, because the order of the weights of the horses won't change. Because the lightest horse is still the lightest after the weight correction. Number 23. Near the end of a U.S. cable news show, the host invited viewers to ask, the host invited viewers to respond to a poll on the show's website that asked, do you support the new federal policy discussed during the show? At the end of the show, the host reported that 20% responded yes and 70% responded no. Which of the following best explains why the results are unlikely to represent the sentiments of the population of the U.S.? Well, we're all getting these people from a single U.S. cable news show. We're not randomly selecting the population of the survey to accurately represent the population of the U.S. So the answer will be B. On to next question. If f of x equals 5x squared minus 3 and f of x plus a equals 5x squared plus 30x plus 42, what's the value of a? Okay. So, f of x plus a. So 5 times x plus a squared minus 3 is equal to 5x squared plus 30x plus 42. 5 times x plus a squared equals 5x squared plus 30x plus 45. When we divide both sides by 5, we get x plus a squared equals x squared plus 6x plus 9. I'm going to move this equation up here. We know this part is just x plus 3 whole squared once you factor it. Now since these two have to match, a has to match with 3. So a is 3. On to the next question. If sine of x degrees equals a, which of the following must be true for all values of x? So for each of the answer choices we have, we're either trying to give a counterexample to prove it false until we get to the one where we can't give any counterexamples of. So let's start with option A. Cosine of x equals a. So I'm going to take x equals 30 degrees. X equals 30 for now, for all of these. Cosine of 30 is square root of 3 over 2. Sine of 30 is 1/2. They're not the same. Sine of 90 minus 30 equals sine of 30. Sine of 60 is equal to square root of 3 over 2. But sine of 30 is 1/2. So that's not true. Cosine of 90 minus x equals sine of 30. Cosine of 90 minus 30. Cosine of 60 is 1/2. Sine of 30 is 1/2. So this might be our answer. Let me put a little question mark. That could be it. Now let's look at D. Sine of x squared degrees is equal to sine of 30, all squared. A squared is 1/4. Sine of 900 degrees, which is 30 squared, will be equal to sine of, let's see, 360 degrees is in a circle, so we can do 2 full revolutions. So that'll be equal to sine of 180 degrees. Sine of 180 degrees is 0. So D is not the answer. C is the answer. Because we proved all of the other statements false, so C has to be the answer. Number 26. The quadratic function above models the height above the ground h in feet of a projectile x seconds after it had been launched vertically. If y equals h of x is graphed in the xy plane, which of the following represents the real life meaning of the positive x-intercept of the graph? So the positive x-intercept. So an x-intercept hits the x-axis, so like somewhere here. The positive x-intercept represents the time when it hit the ground. So it'll be a certain time t and elevation 0. So the time at which the projectile hits the ground. That's answer choice D. Number 27. In the xy plane, the graph of the polynomial function f crosses the x-axis at exactly 2 points, a of 0 and b of 0, b0, where a and b are both positive. Which of the following could define f? So when we plug in x equals a and x equals b, we should get 0 both times. Let's check for each function. When we plug in x equals a here, this first term is 0, so this will be 0. When we plug in x equals b, the second term will be 0, so that's also 0 in both cases. So a is probably our answer, but let's check. Let's move on. When we plug in x equals a, this is 2a times a plus b. It's not 0, so that can't be it. When we plug in x equals a, it is 0, but when we plug in x equals b, we get it's b minus a times 2b. That's not it either. And here we have, when we plug in x equals a, we get 0. But when we plug in x equals b, we also get 0. So this is interesting. So we get 0 and 0. But now it's just differentiating which one it is. Is it A or D? Well, for D, it has another 0 at 0, 0. So if you plugged in x equals 0, this whole thing would be 0 as well. But the function f crosses the x-axis at exactly 2 points. So it has only 2 x-intercepts. D has 3 x-intercepts, so it can't be D. So we know the answer is A. Number 28. If y equals 3x squared plus 6x plus 2 is graphed in the xy plane, which of the following characteristics of the graph is displayed as a constant or coefficient in the equation? The y-coordinate of the vertex. Well, let's prove each of the wrong options wrong. Let's write this in vertex form. So it'll be y equals 3 times x plus 1, because we want to match this coefficient. So if we square x plus 1, we'll get a 2x inside, and when we multiply by 3, we get 6x. So it'll be 3 times x squared plus 2x plus 1. That'll be 3x squared plus 6x plus 3. What do we have? A plus 2 here, so we need to subtract 1. The y-coordinate of the vertex is negative 1. That's not shown anywhere in this function equation. You can't find that out instantly, so no. And same with the x-intercepts. You can't find that out just by looking at the graph. The x-intercept of the line of symmetry. You would need the vertex to find that, so it can't be that. C is the only correct answer. 2 is the last constant here in this function equation, and when you plug in x equals 0, you know all the variable terms will vanish, so you just be left with a constant term at the end. That's the y-intercept, so that's our answer. Okay, let's move on to number 29. The scatterplot above shows the federal mandated minimum wage every 10 years between 1940 and 2010. So let's see. Let me make sure I answered all the questions. Yep. Line of best fit is shown, and its equation is y equals 0.096x plus 0.04. Okay, let me read that again. Oh my god. A line of best fit was shown, and its equation is y equals 0.096x minus 0.488. What does the line of best fit predict about the increase in the minimum wage over the 70-year period? Each year between 1940 and 2010, the average increase in minimum wage was $0.096. That's describing the slope of this equation, which is true. This could be right, but let's look at the other options. Each year between 1940 and 2010, the average increase in minimum wage was $0.49. So average increase refers to slope, and the slope of this equation is not 0.49. Every 10 years between 1940 and 2010, the average increase was $0.096. Again, that could also be right, but we have to rule it out later. Every 10 years between 1940 and 2010, the average increase in minimum wage was $0.488. That's not the slope, so it's not B or D. It's either A or C. Remember that the slope of a line is equal to rise over run, right? Since we're looking at rise over run, it'll be some number divided by 10. That'll give you a decimal. And this decimal refers to the increase per year, because you're dividing the original quantity by 10. So it's per year now. So it's A. Let me erase all of this and we'll move on to question number 30. The scatter plot above shows a company's ice cream sales, D, in dollars, and the high temperature T in degrees Celsius on 12 different days. A line of best fit is drawn in the data, and you can see it on the graph. Which of the following could be an equation of the line of best fit? Okay. Now, I'm just going to approximate 2 points on this line of best fit and try to see which line will be the closest to it. So I'm going to take that intersection point and that intersection point. So it'll be, I want to say 12 around 480. 12, 480, that's my approximation. And then 14, 550, because it looks right in the middle between 500 and 600. Let's find the equation for the line. So the slope, M, will be 550 minus 480 over 14 minus 12. That's 70 over 2, and that's 35. So it'll be y equals 35x plus something. Well, let's plug in the first point. So 480 has to equal 35 times 12 plus something. 480 equals 420 plus our y-intercept. Our y-intercept is 60. So our equation will be y equals 35x plus 60. Now the equation that most closely matches that form is D. D equals 33t plus 84. Let's move on. Alright, now we have the grid-in questions, so we have to write the answer. We don't get any answer choices. Alright, in the xy plane above, the circle has center HK and has radius 10. What's the value of K? Alright, now let's find this. So the equation of a circle is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. We know r is 10, so r squared will be 10 squared, which is 100. Now, let's plug in each of these points. So we get 4 minus h squared plus k squared, right? Y is 0, so the stuff in here will be negative k all squared is k squared. That's 100. And pretty much the same thing here. 20 minus h squared plus k squared equals 100. So let me erase this bit and bring this up here so we have more room to work with. Alright. When we subtract the two equations, we get 4 minus h squared minus 20 minus h squared equals 0. So let me get some more room to work with here. Alright. 4 minus h squared minus 20 minus h all squared 0. That means 4 minus h squared equals 20 minus h squared. This means, so if that's the same, then when we take the square root of both sides, we get plus or minus 4 minus h equals plus or minus 20 minus h. Now the signs of both these expressions can't be the same, because if they were, then the h terms would cancel and we'd get some constant like plus or minus 4 is equal to plus or minus 20 if the signs were the same, which is obviously not true. So the signs of these two expressions need to be opposite. So it's either this is negative and this is positive, or that's positive and that's negative. So let's work with the first case. So we have negative 4 minus h is equal to 20 minus h. So that becomes h minus 4 is equal to 20 minus h. 2h is equal to 24. And then h is equal to 12. Okay, so we get h is equal to 12 for the first case. Let's try the second case. So I'm just going to note down the values. So we have h equals 12 the first time. So if we do 4 minus h is equal to negative of 20 minus h, we get 4 minus h is equal to h minus 20. Again, 2h is equal to 24 once you arrange everything, and h is equal to 12 again. So if we get h equals 12 both times, we know that h is 12 for sure. So when we go back to our circle equation, we know that x minus 12 all squared plus y minus k squared, that's supposed to be equal to 100. So I'm going to plug in this point again. 20 minus 12 squared plus k squared equals 100. Now 20 minus 12 is 8. 8 squared is 64. So 64 plus k squared equals 100. Okay, let me erase this. Rewrite that. 64 plus k squared equals 100. K squared rather is equal to 36. K is equal to plus or minus 6. This vertex here is in the first quadrant. So we know k is equal to 6. And that's our final answer. Then we move on to the next question. Number 32. In the xy plane, line L has a y-intercept of negative 13 and is perpendicular to the line with the equation y equals negative 2/3 x. If the point 10b is on the line, what's the value of b? Okay, so let's write an equation for line L. Line L will be of the form mx minus 13. We know that the y-intercept is negative 13, so b will be negative 13. That's why the negative 13 is there at the end. And we know that line L is perpendicular to the line with equation y equals negative 2/3 x. We know perpendicular lines have slopes that are negative reciprocals of each other. So m for line L, the slope for line L will be the negative reciprocal of negative 2/3. The negative reciprocal of negative 2/3 is 3/2. So the equation for line L is 3/2 x minus 13. Now when we plug in x equals 10, so if we plug in x equals 10, 3/2 times 10 minus 13, this is 15 minus 13, and it's 2. So 2 is our final answer. Number 33. Alright, human blood can be classified into 4 common blood types, A, B, AB, and O. It is also characterized by the presence or absence of the rhesus factor. The table above shows the distribution of blood type and rhesus factor for a group of people. If one of these people who is rhesus negative is chosen at random, the probability that the person has blood type B is 1/9. What is the value of X? So we're picking from the rhesus negative people. So our total population in this case is the people who are rhesus negative. The people who are rhesus negative is we have 7 plus 2 plus 1 plus X amount of people. And the number of people who have blood type B who are rhesus negative is 2. So 2 over 7 plus 2 plus 1 plus X is equal to 1/9. Right? So 18 is equal to 7 plus 2 plus 1 plus X once you cross multiply. 18 is equal to 10 plus X. So X is equal to 8. That's our final answer. Number 34. Based on the graph above, and how many of the games played did the soccer team score goals equal to the median number of goals scored for the 29 games? 29 is an odd number, so we have exactly one game that will be the median. So the middle of a set of 29 items will always be the 15th item, because we have 14 that are less than it and 14 that are more than it. 14 plus the middle, 14 plus 14 plus 1 is 29. So we just need to find the 15th game that was played. And luckily for us, this bar graph is ordered from left to right. So the first 8 values in our data set will be 8. So that's values 1 through 8. The second unique data value is 2. And those will contain values 9 through, 9 through 17. So values 9 through 17 contains the 15th value in the 29 values or games. So our median is 2. How many games played were there where they scored the median number of goals? 2 goals. So we know the median is 2. They played 9 games when they scored 2 goals. So our answer is 9. That's it. Number 35. Gisela would owe $15,500 in taxes each year if she were not eligible for any tax deductions. This year, Gisela is eligible for tax deductions that reduce the amount of taxes she owes by $2,325. If these tax deductions reduce the taxes Gisela owes this year by D%, what's the value of D? Okay, so 15,500 minus 2,325 is equal to some percent of 15,500. When we divide both sides by 15,500, we get X is equal to, 15,500 minus 2,325 divided by 15,500. X is equal to 0.85 or 85%. Okay, so the amount of tax she owes now is 85% of the tax she would have owed had she not been eligible for tax deductions. So our tax amount reduced by 100 minus 85%, which is 15%. So 15 is our answer. On to the next question. 3/4 x plus minus 1/2 y is equal to 12. ax minus by equals 9. The system of equations above has no solution. If a and b are constant, what is the value of a over b? So because this system of equations have no solutions, when they're graphed, when those two lines are graphed, they should not intersect. They should not intersect. And if those lines don't intersect, the lines are parallel. So we know that 3/4 x minus 1/2 y and ax minus by equals 9, they're parallel. So let's write each equation in slope-intercept form to find the slope. So let's write this in slope-intercept form. So it'll be negative 1/2 y is equal to negative 3/4 x plus 12. When we multiply everything by negative 2, we get y is equal to 3/2 x minus 24. If I'm correct. And when we write ax minus by equals 9 in slope-intercept form, we get negative by is equal to negative ax plus 9. Once we divide everything by negative b, you get y is equal to a over bx plus 9 over b. Or rather, that's a minus. That's a negative 9 over b. We know that for the lines to be parallel and to never intersect, the slopes have to be equal. So 3/2 is equal to a over b. So a over b is just 1.5. And that's our answer. Alright, on to number 37. Okay, so we have this numbers table, number of tourist arrivals per country in 2012 and 2013. Let's jump to number 37. Based on the information given in the table, how much greater in millions was the median number of international tourist arrivals to the top 9 tourist destinations in 2013 than in 2012? So in 2013, the median was, let's see, this is the lowest, this is the second lowest, no, that's the third lowest, actually. This is the third lowest. Good, okay. So let's find the lowest. That's the lowest. The second lowest is Germany. Third lowest is the UK. Fourth lowest is Turkey. And then fifth lowest is Italy. Italy is our median. So 47.7 is our median for 2013. And we have to subtract that from the median for 2012. Again, Russia is our lowest. UK is second lowest. Germany is third lowest. Turkey is fourth lowest. Italy is fifth lowest. So our median for 2012 is 46.4. So 47.7 minus 46.4 is equal to 1.3. And that's our answer. Okay. Number 38. The number of international tourist arrivals in Russia in 2012 was 13.5% greater than in 2011. The number of international tourist arrivals in Russia was k million more in 2012 than in 2011. What was the value of k to the nearest integer? So I want to call x the number of tourist arrivals in 2011 in millions. So x times 1 plus 13.5% was equal to however many people came in 2012, so 24.7. So x times, in decimal form, 1.135 is equal to 24.7. So we know that x is equal to 24.7 over 1.135. Now to find k, we need to subtract 24.7 minus 24.7 divided by 1.135. So 24.7, let's do that. 24.7 minus 24.7 over 1.135. That's around 2.94, and if we round k to the nearest integer, k is 3. And that's our final answer. I hope you enjoyed this walkthrough of the calculator section for the SAT Practice 9. I hope you found it helpful and informative in your practice. And good luck in your future